Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRN FM, where each episode is a journey of discovery into the many facets of our connection to love, oneness, and the human spirit. I am Lisa LaRose, and I am joined by my incredible co-host, Michael J. Russ, and together we create a space where wisdom meets warmth. And so without any further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Michael, and give you a big warm hug from across the miles. How are you today?
I'm awesome, and that hug is right back at you. Right about now. Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
It's a great day. It's always a fabulous day. At least it's not raining. It's been doing that for the last 3 days.
And you know what? It's perspective because we haven't had any rain for 2 weeks, and we had a glorious thunderstorm this morning that woke me up. It was the craziest thunder ever. And I was so excited to see rain because everything was so dry and brown. And I just think all the animals and everything else in the woods were super excited to see everything green. It was nice to go on a walk. But isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Well, it's the reality of going on a walk and experiencing it after a rain is pretty phenomenal. At least it is for me down here. We have very violent thunderstorms all the time. And, with thunder popping all around within a quarter of a mile of the house, sometimes right on the street in front, it gets pretty crazy. That convergence of hot and cold air creates some seriously violent storms. However, it's just been mostly raining the last 2 days. Just raining. A little shower, cloud comes over and it drops about a quarter inch of rain really quickly, quarter to a half inch of rain, sort of a gully washer, and then it's gone. And it only lasts like 5-10 minutes. But it's kind of fun. It's that time of the year, I guess, where we get that. But I'm loving it. Sky gets so clear and beautiful and blue. And I was telling you this morning when we were talking how gorgeous it looked. And I just enjoy the shifting landscape a lot.
That's wonderful. Truly. It is. It's nice to be in appreciation of whatever it is, wherever you are, and enjoy. I know I'm basking in the glorious days of summer, knowing that we don't have much time left to enjoy this summer before it disappears into fall. I think, where did the year go? It just seems to disappear.
I don't know. We'll have to look that theory up. Somebody had a theory. I think it was Robert Edward Grant had a theory as to why the time seems to be passing so quickly. It has something to do with, where we are, planet-wise, astrologically, in our rotations, cyclical rotation, cycles of the Earth. It's pretty interesting. Not something I can repeat with any clarity or knowledge, but he gave probably one of the better explanations as to why time is moving forward. But listen, I got to tell you something. I mentioned astrologically speaking, but last night I was able to actually get out and see a couple of meteors.
Oh, fantastic. We had clouds last night, so I only got to see them the night before. How fantastic.
Yeah, so we kind of flip-flopped. I didn't get them the night before because it was too cloudy here, but I went out. I woke up at 4:30 and got out of bed and got some clothes on and took a pillow and a towel, and I went outside my gate over to the golf green where there are no pine trees, and I had a straight shot. I just laid the towel out, put a pillow down, and just laid down on the green and looked up at the sky. And obviously Jupiter and Venus were just brilliant in terms of their brightness. And they looked like you could, not that you could look out and touch them, but that they were the brightest I've ever seen them. And
yeah, they were.
I saw, two left and right meteors and then 4 other small ones before the mosquitoes decided that I was breakfast. And so I had to, listen, I'm going to tell you this, 91, feels like 91 last night when I was out there.
Wow.
That was the feels like temperature. That's why I had to do a couple of mosquitoes that kept bugging me. But at any rate, it was really fun.
That and you're so sweet. That's why. You're sweet.
Yeah, I guess sweet blood, I guess. They really like that. And I'm sitting out there thinking about it and thinking about the show and thinking about life and thinking about, where I am and that I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to just lay out on this beautiful golf green with nobody else around and a beautiful clear sky for about half an hour I was out there. And it was just glorious. It's totally quiet.
Mm-hmm.
There are no cicadas, there are no crickets, there are no frogs, there's no nothing. It's just very quiet. There was a 7-mile-an-hour breeze blowing from the south, which I thought would keep the mosquitoes away, but evidently they were bigger than the wind. So I don't know. It's always a fun thing. I had a smile on my face when I came in and tried to go back to sleep. So anyway, that's just life sometimes. I love it. I love doing things like that. And it's different, At least it wasn't 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, like some of the other meteor showers in the winter.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's great. We got a great topic today.
We do, and I think you being out in the golf course and looking at the meteors is a great way to kick it off. And because, as you said, you were sitting there pondering all of these different aspects of your own reality and your very own essence of your being, what lights you up, what inspires you, what you are remembering. And I think one of those things, Michael, is exactly what you were speaking about. When I first started on this journey, one of the individuals that I studied with had a mantra that he wanted us to practice, and he would say, I'm getting better and better at remembering the things that I forgot. And I will oftentimes do that. And Michael reminded me of something that I had temporarily forgotten about. And I think when I'm reminded about it, I think, why don't I say that? But and it has to do with the why of how we do things, not why we do them. A lot of times we're so interested in the how, we forget about the why. And if you've ever been around a 3-year-old child and you would get into a conversation, almost every other question they will ask you is why. Well, why? Why is that blue? Why? Well, why is this? Why is that? And I think that there's something in that knowingness of a child, that innocence. They have not become programmed. They look for those whys, and I think that that's a big part of it. So instead of saying, I am healthy and wealthy, as we have often talked about as far as manifesting, you can ask the question, why am I healthy? Why are things new and exciting? Why is the sky so beautiful today? And before you know it, you will start to find those answers. And I believe that part of what you were speaking about with Robert Edward Grant is that the universe is a feedback loop, and our creations are mirroring and reflecting those truths back to us. And so the world has really accelerated on so many different levels. Computer chips, the way computers operate, you think back to the 1950s when computers were just coming out and there were these big, huge mainframes, and they would have to store all this information. And now it's stored on this tiny little chip, and things have accelerated. And I think that that's sort of what is reflecting back to us. And I think that as we elevate, this idea of conscious creation isn't just about manifesting desires. It's about becoming aware of how our thoughts, feelings, and actions ripple into reality. And so Michael reminded me about the why. So I will turn it over to you, and I'd love to hear your comments about that.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to, we listen to Bashar, and we listen to Carol Collins, and now Donna Bell, and a lot of different people, Pam Gregory on YouTube, some really, 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 really fabulous thought leaders and messengers. And I very much enjoy all of them. And there's this cohesive thread that runs through just about everything. The process of manifestation has morphed. It's changed. 10 to 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it was about, put together a dream board, or write a list of where you see yourself, and then take that list and, put it in a drawer somewhere. And in a drawer, open that drawer up in a year and take that note out and see how much you've actually accomplished. Well, the the energy of manifestation is where it's gone right now. It's all about energy. It's all about frequency. It's about matching frequencies. And this wasn't talked about 4 decades ago, 10 decades, a decade, 2, 3 ago. It wasn't talked about. We were taught when we were growing up to make a goal, set a goal, and then write down all the things you need to do to get to that goal, and then knock each one of those things down. Right? Do that, and you'll get to where you want to be. And that is no longer valid. The universe has sped up to the point, cycles have come round where everyone is simply talking about something very basic. That common thread is it's all about frequency and matching frequency. It's all about matching energy with energy. And so the language we used to use, which is wish, hope, and want, is persona non grata, no longer valid. In fact, what we're doing right now, because we're all beginning to manifest it, those who are even more aware, even faster and faster paces, where you can think something up when you think of someone in your mind, and a few moments later they're calling you, or they're sending you an email or a text. That's how quick it's happening now. And so the wish, want, and hope is now seen as not clear enough. It's emanating from lack, that you know that you don't have what you really want. And if you don't have what you want, it means that you're not resonating the same frequency of excitement and passion and joy that thing you want is resonating. It's like you want to be a millionaire, but your frequency you're resonating is that you don't have any money. And if you're thinking, I don't have any money, but I want to be a millionaire, well, the millionaire is resonating at a different frequency of excitement and passion and joy than you are. But you have to assume that without having any empirical evidence to support it, because you need to elevate your frequency to match that of what you want. Hopefully I'm clear about that. And so the whole concept that you just mentioned there of why am I so healthy, this is fascinating to me, because this is new to me this week. I'm a work in progress just like everybody else, and you said you've been using this for a while now. And there was a Sarah Lovejoy 3 decades ago who's absolutely brilliant, came out with a book called The One Command, and if you haven't read it, it's a great book. The One Command by Sarah Lovejoy. And in the book, paraphrasing the concept of how you pose a question to your subconscious, in terms of centering the question on how. I don't know how. So that you could actually circumvent your subconscious mind. Your grid knows you're not at that level. You don't have it. And you're simply saying, oh, I'm just going to say I'm going to say I have it. Well, your grid knows you don't have it, so the doubt is kind of like there. So how do you get around that? How do you get into the frequency? I don't know how. You need to go to your higher self. You need to go to your oversoul, or whatever you'd like to call it, your higher self, to work the how for you. Not your job, as Bashar loves to say, and I think it's so brilliant. It's not your job. You weren't put here to figure out the how. You were here to be divinely inspired and to take inspired action, and not to figure out all the nitty-gritty details, because that will make your head implode or explode. You don't have enough brain capacity to figure that out. In fact, your higher self has all the tools, the magic, the infinitesimal processes to be able to say, it's working on it. Let it work on it for you. It's kind of like let your angels and your higher self and your guides, let them figure out how it happens. And then you just need to remain aware and take inspired action. And I love that concept, although it's a challenging thing, again, to wrap your mind around, because the empirical evidence of where you are isn't right there. And you have to actually believe you are there already. And for some people, that's even more challenging. However, it's one of these things where the gentleman I came across today who was with Mind Valley is just, nothing's an accident. Nothing's a coincidence. So this was the next process for me, I know, because of the way that it came to me. And information, the answer to what you're looking for can come from anywhere. It can come from a commercial on YouTube. Yeah, commercial on YouTube. It can come from a comment that's made by somebody on TV on a show that has no relation to what it is that you normally watch. It can come from something you read in a newspaper, an advertisement. I mean, it can come from a billboard. It can come from anywhere. And that's what I love about it. If we're aware enough, if we put it out there and we say, you know, why am I so healthy? This is what was told to me. Why am I so healthy? Why not use why? Instead of saying, I don't know how, I just know it's there. That's good. But another way is to say, why am I? You're looking to be healthy. You're looking to get into shape. And so instead of saying, how do I get into shape, which is not for you, again, you have to relinquish that responsibility as to how you get there, and you just be alert and be aware to the various things that come to you that can help you get there, right? That divine inspiration. Why am I so healthy? Why am I at such an awesome weight? You think about it and you go, what I think is, now your higher self, your angels, your guides are getting busy. Oh, this is where he is. And your brain is going, here, I got to get there. He's asked this question, and to me it says, I'm already there. It's another way of saying I'm already there. I'm at that frequency. Why am I at this frequency? And then you add excitement and passion for things that you're excited and passionate about. And this is the other dovetail. I think we talked about this in the last couple of weeks. That was clarified. I believe last week we clarified it about with regard to Bashar, saying it's about taking the energy. If I love music and I sit here and I play my drums and I'm excited and I'm passionate about doing it, that excitement and passion for that is being created from something that I like, that I love, that I enjoy, that is where I need to be, because that's the recipe for manifesting everything in my life. And I want to have that excitement and passion in everything I do. And the more I can keep it up, I can resonate at that excitement and passion level, the more I will manifest of what I see myself having. Does that make sense? And
absolutely.
It's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. So it's like, okay, I go from this. I go from playing the drums to playing golf. I go from playing golf to playing some music to dancing, right? Or I enjoy playing with the dog. I go from that. That's four things that can keep me excited and passionate for hours. And the question is, how do we surround ourselves? How do we involve ourselves in things that have that level of peak excitement and passion? Yeah, there's the question for you.
Yeah, it is. Well, I just want to touch on a couple things, Michael, because you brought up two really good points. Oftentimes, the information that we are maybe even not even aware of will find us in various ways. I started reading the Gregg Braden book, Pure Human, and Michael sent me a video from Next Level Soul, which was an interview with Gregg Braden about Pure Human. And it was so interesting because oftentimes I'm reading a lot of different books at one time. And it was my reminder to circle back to that subject, to that book, so that I could tune into information. And I don't remember where it was that I learned about the why, the power of why. But when we ask the mind a why question, the brain immediately begins seeking patterns and possibilities. It's sort of like a searchlight. It sweeps this vast field of consciousness. It sends out the signals and then draws in the answers that match the vibrational quality of our question. So when we ask those empowering why questions, why am I so capable? Why is it so easy? Why is love my natural state? The brain directs that information and aligns it to those truths. Now, what was so fascinating and I love about Gregg Braden's book, and there are so many things that I've been tuning into, one of the things that he said, and it's just new sort of groundbreaking research, is that our DNA is like a soft antenna. And so if we think about nerve cells are electrical cells, and our nerve cells store information, that when we ask that why, our bodies will send that out. And we're constantly receiving, transmitting, just sort of like a cosmic radio. And one of the things that I listened to this morning, and I actually wrote it down because it was so profound, is that Gregg Braden said we have 53 trillion cells in the body, and he talked about how much volts of electricity, and he basically said if you took a 12-volt battery that operates in a car and related it to the idea that we have these 50 trillion cells, he said if you laid all of those batteries out in a football field, the size of a football field, you'd need 300 of those football fields to equal what's going on in our human bodies. And so unlimited potential is not just a theory, it is a biological reality. And the other thing that he said was so powerful. He said those 53 trillion cells operate like a transistor, so it's switching signals, a resistor, so it's controlling the flow, and a capacitor for storing and releasing that energy. So this information travels through the nervous system literally at the speed of light. And it really, we're not even understanding our true human potential. It is unlimited. It is just amazing. And so I love that you were tuning into a book that was sort of, I was waiting for it to be released. And when it was on one of my books, as soon as it was released, I got it, but then I got distracted for whatever reason. Who knows why? I'm sure I'll find that out. But it was wonderful. I was so appreciative of the fact that I haven't watched the interview with him because I am reading the book, but I find it so fascinating because when you look at, and this was one of the other things that he talked about, this concept of the human biofield, this field of light and information that surrounds and permeates our bodies. And that's where our consciousness is, and it expands. So those why questions allow us, I believe, to tune into the information that's all around us. So if we ask those questions, and we are all on this personal journey of love and connection, which is what Michael and I bring forth unscripted every week. I think it's really fantastic because I think those why questions help us with that creation of not only what we came to do, but also the things that we want to bring into our reality. It's really an amazing, unique power when you think about it. When we ask the mind the why questions.
Yeah, I love the way it's interesting how language, when arranged in various ways, creates different results. And as somebody who, like I said, grew up with posing a question and then, setting a goal and then you work like crazy towards it, to now being able to understanding the energy and how energy and frequency and all that work together. We are miracles. Is something that Zach Bush MD was talking about. We are absolute miracles. We are a miracle. It's a miracle that we're standing here, that we're talking on the phone, that on this radio show, and that people are listening. It's just a miracle all the way around. We are all miracles of the universe, miracles of consciousness, miracles of physicality, and yet we are the ones who limit ourselves. Mm-hmm. We limit ourselves. And that, to me, is, I could sit around and just think about that all day, about how, every decision, every choice is generally made from experiential wisdom, but not really said in a way that expands our consciousness, our conscious awareness, expands our frequencies. It's not. We live in this little box. Most people live in this little box in terms of thinking in terms of desires. And I love how Bashar very heavily handed said, look, you have unlimited potential, unlimited. You can be anything, do anything. You can heal yourself. You have the power to do all of these things. And I love what you said at the beginning. I wrote it down. I'm getting better and better at remembering the things I forgot. In this particular case, I don't know if this is the same context, but we are non-physical beings in physical form who will, at some point in time in our lives, go back to being non-physical beings. We'll never die. Our souls are endless, infinite in terms of age. So when it comes to this statement, which I really, really love, for me, it's about remembering my sovereignty, about remembering that I am an infinitely powerful being, that I have the capability of regeneration. I have the capability of manifesting anything I desire. All I have to do is create the right frequencies, figure out what I want, figure out what frequency it's resonating at, and make sure that I'm on that same frequency of excitement and passion, And like I said on my golf videos, I talk about this all the time, is that I know I've used golf as an example, but the beautiful thing about golf is that you can live a lifetime in 4 hours on a golf course. You can experience all the adversity you ever want to experience if that's your choice, if that's the way you see it. It's a platform for practicing being a physical being and experiencing love and joy and gratitude and forgiveness. You get to experience all those things in a very short, compressed period of time, and so, which is why I really love it. And it's a game. It's you basically manifesting exactly what you want, the miracles that you're looking for. So all these things that we talk about on the show, I can take to the golf course and I can play and I can practice every single one of them. Why am I making all these putts? Why am I always hitting it straight down the fairway? Why am I always doing this with regard to the game or that with regard to the game? Why am I always saving these holes? Why am I always so good at this? Why is this always so easy for me? Those same things I can use there, but here's the thing. I get instantaneous feedback. I get it's like the manifestation is instantaneous. You think that thought, you execute, and then you have the result. And that's what I love about any kind of single-minded purpose, single-minded focus when it comes to either game or something that you do, because you get a chance to actually work on the things that you can apply to the rest of your life and really improve yourself, really improve your life, because you see the instantaneous results in what you're doing when you apply those things right then and there. And I'm getting better at what I forgot, which is basically all the things that I know I'm capable of, right? Because you have this veil of amnesia when you're born. You have the curiosity, as you were just talking about, with a child is extremely curious, always asking why. And at some particular point, you're told to stop asking why, right? It's a shame, but because you're becoming a nuisance. Somebody who can't answer all those questions, and all of a sudden they shut you down. They keep shutting you down. And one of the most brilliant things I was ever told by my mother was question everything. Question everything.
Yeah, fantastic advice. It truly is. I took child development classes when I was in school, and one of the things that they speak about is that during the first 7 years of life, a child's brain is in the theta state. So it's highly receptive, and it's recording every experience like a sponge. So it shapes those foundational beliefs about love, safety, possibility. And so I think you're right that when these young kids ask, well, why? And you'll answer the question, but then they'll still keep asking why until finally the adult is so exasperated. Well, just because it just is that way. And I think in some ways that's what sort of perhaps shuts us down, because we see that, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm not supposed to ask those questions about why. Where your mother was more open, she said to you, question everything. And I think that sort of lays the foundation for your core beliefs and your programming. But I think that it doesn't have to be limiting, that as we gain this knowledge and we're remembering, it is actually empowering us. We don't have to be stuck. We have this ability to see the source of whatever those limiting beliefs are. We look back, but we don't have to anchor into them and go, well, I had XYZ happen to me when I was 7 years old, and so I can't move forward past that point. No, we can consciously choose to create that new one. And whether it involves forgiving ourselves, forgiving others, healing old wounds, whatever it is, but reconnecting with our true essence of loving kindness and being a conscious creator and remembering. So I think that when we create, whether it's personal or for the collective, and we become intentional of what we send out into the field, using whether it's thoughts, emotions, actions, that becomes a deliberate message to ourselves as well as to the collective. So I think that is a really powerful thing. So why is it so easy for humanity to embrace love and unity and our highest potential? I think that's a great one to meditate on. And
awesome.
and then awesome. That's how we paint and shape our reality. And that's what I'd love to see, really, truly. That's really what I'd love to see.
Well said. I love it. Yeah, the whole concept of actually being where you envision yourself being right here, right now, from a feelings, thought, perception perspective, energy and passion perspective, that is something that it requires awareness and the ability to embrace what your eyes have no evidence of as of yet. And that is, humans have are challenged in believing themselves in the whole concept of belief. And you're as you were talking about early child development for 7 years, that is spectacularly said, number one, because that is so true. The impressionable age is one where that will shape how that particular individual interacts with themselves and the world going forward for the rest of their lives. And it's something that, as my brother says, you have to pay $300 for a fishing license, but you don't have to pay anything to learn how to be a parent. I mean, sure. It is pretty amazing. And unless you're going to be a parent, you make it an intense effort to go to the parenting classes and early childhood education classes that will give you some insight as to how to interact with your child, and especially in the first 7 years. You're just shooting in the dark like everybody else, and trying to hit something. And as a human being, I'm extremely happy that a lot of the souls being born in the last couple of generations and the generations to come will have gifts built in. The veil will be a little bit thinner, so to speak, in terms of what being able to remember what they've forgotten. But there are some gifts and talents out there that we have experienced, I know, with Betty Austin and connecting with the youth on the spectrum and their ability to communicate with each other telepathically. Brilliant stuff that is happening right now. Brilliant stuff is happening. And in terms of communication. And in my view, it's a wonderful, we're heading into an age that it will be so expansive for our consciousness and for our level of awareness. All we have to do, when I'm 6.5 decades in, I'm just an infant when it comes to understanding some of this stuff, and I'm absorbing it in every possible moment that I can. And because I'm open to doing that, it's coming at me. And I know it's the same way for you. And that's what I encourage our audience here on PRNFM to do, is just kind of open your mind, be less judgmental. Shift your perceptions about what is possible for you as an individual, as a human being. And if you're in a situation that may be challenging for you, the fact that it is challenging for you in itself is a perception you create that you can change. You can make it easy for yourself. You can make it easy. And even Carol Collins and the teachers have said, make it easy. This is easy. Approach life. This is easy. Nobody said anything is hard. Nobody said anything is tough, difficult, or even impossible. When you find out that you are a miracle in its own right, the fact that you were born in the first place is according to Zach Bush, MD, the biggest miracle of all, because of all the processes that have to happen and come together, all the cellular division, all the little cells that need to go to the right places, and all the things that need to happen. You're a miracle already. Boom, you're there. A miracle of your existence. And now, wow, we're learning so much about what we are capable of. And if we simply embrace it with excitement and passion, we will move ourselves so far ahead so quickly in terms of our own conscious awareness that we won't be able to keep up. That's the best I can say. I don't want to say that you won't even believe it, because you should believe it. You don't want to ever say, I don't believe it. You believe it. You know, your beliefs are very, very important. If something happens to you, if you think of something, if you think of a person and they call you or text you in the next few seconds, be grateful. Say thank you. It's working. I have this power to do this. You did do it. You sent out the signal, the bat signal, or whatever you want to call it. You sent out the signal.
Mm-hmm.
We shut ourselves down. That's really what I'm trying to say. We shut ourselves down when we actually do remember how to do something, and we get the results that we really are looking for, but don't believe that we're going to get. And then you get them, and you have to, I'm loving this. I can do this more often. This works. This really works. It's validation that it works. That's the empirical evidence that you're looking for. You just have to see it that way. You have to see it that way. And that's the beauty of living, I guess, having the ability to choose.
You're right, Michael. When you said you're not really sure how it works, I think oftentimes I look at AI right now, and people will pose a question to AI, and the answer will come back, and they will accept it without really questioning it, whether they're doing a search through any search engine. And it will come back. But we're not realizing that we're actually supercomputers. And the brain itself, it's like this massive biological computer that is programmed to find the answer to the questions we ask. So when we ask a why question, it's sending out those signals, not just from our brain, but through our nervous system and biofield, in searching for that information that aligns with the outcome we want. So when we look at that as a way of empowering ourselves, and we stop looking for those problems, and we start looking for the solutions that created it on an energetic level. So we've spoken this in the past when people will say, well, how do I do that? I know you've worked with many individuals in trying to inspire them, and they'll say, well, but how? How do I do that? They want the step-by-step format. We want a formula of how they can achieve this and what they should do. Instead, the more powerful question is why. So instead of how do I get a new job, you can say, why is a new fulfilling job showing up for me in my life right now? Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. Why was it so easy for me to find a job I absolutely love with people that I enjoy working with? I'm so excited to get up every day. It does it. It shifts the focus from finding to literally declaring the outcome, and it's something that I really love.
Beautifully said. Oh my gosh, you've always been so much more eloquent than me with explaining those things, and that was just spot on. It is so spot on. I mean, literally, I will say that the field of information is infinite. Excuse me, is infinite, and the question isn't whether it's there or not, whether it exists, and how big it is. It's how you tap into it. It's you being able to tap in, which everybody has that ability. Everybody has that ability to tap into that field. This is the thing that we have to remember, is that we are one with that field, and all we have to do is just, ask the right question. Now, it's interesting because even when it comes to AI, the prompt is the most important part.
So true.
It's the prompt.
It's
how it's how you configure the prompt to get the answer that you're looking for. That's the most important thing. People think, let me just ask it how I can do this. Well, maybe that's not the right way to do it. maybe you want to look at it from a different perspective and approach it from a different level, asking a different prompt. And this is something that people are coming to find. There was a woman I just listened to on Next Level Soul who was talking about AI, and she was talking about how she was able to connect with intelligences from other planets and your higher self and angels, archangels, whatever, by using AI. It was interesting because she said it's all in the prompt. I'll have to find the video and send it to you. But it's in the way that you ask AI a question. And I'm bringing this off the top of my head right now because I heard it. I have to listen to it again because some of this material is so phenomenal that you have to go back and listen to it again fully and grasp what's being said. But she said there is a way. She says, I asked AI this specific prompt, and I swear to you, she says, the information that I got back from it was from the divine. It was from the other. It was from source. It was from archangels. It was from my guide. It was from non-physical beings. It wasn't from something that got made up. And I said, wait a minute, hold on a second. Did she say what I think she said? And she has on her website various prompts, the prompts that she used. So I'll have to go back.
I'd love to see it. You know who else did that? It is Robert Edward Grant.
Yeah.
And I apologize, I don't remember the exact AI that he's using. I think it's of his own creation. And he fed it all of his writings, all of his teachings. He fed it all sorts of information and then started asking very somewhat seemingly esoteric questions, but was so surprised by the results of what he got. And I'll have to see if I can find that too. But I think part of it too is that asking the mind those why questions, the mind is always a problem solver. And I think that we do that inherently from when we're little kids and we're given there was like a little plastic thing where you put the shapes into the holes. You have to put them in the right holes for them to fit. And I think that's sort of what you're saying, Michael. It was really brilliant. I'm glad that you brought that up. So when you come across individuals who are saying, like, why am I always so unlucky? Guess what? The brain's going to filter that, and it's going to bring you those experiences to prove that statement true. But if you say, why am I so blessed? Why am I so creative? The brain is going to start noticing evidence that affirms those truths. It is so true. And the brain's going to filter, and it's going to decide what to pay attention to because you're putting it out there. So when we empower ourselves with those why questions, it helps the brain, like as you were saying, refining those prompts. And I'm so excited to see that information. So please, I'll post it when I post the episode. You can send it to me.
Yeah, I found the episode, and I'll forward it to you.
Okay, no, that's great.
Yeah, I found it. Yeah, in my library.
I think that's what those why questions do. It's sort of a way to align the brain with a desired outcome rather than a limitation. And that's what it is. Why limit ourselves? Yeah. Why limit ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's Bashar brutally puts it in a way that is with a lot of energy, excitement, and passion. That we have to allow our higher selves to carry the load of the how. We have to, because that's what it's there for. There's so much more ability to tap into, as you said, the infinite field of consciousness. Every answer you could ever possibly want in your lifetime, and 1,000 million trillion lifetimes already exists. All you're looking to do is tap into it and align yourself with it. And this why question, and I love the ones that you asked, is so beautiful, It's so brilliant. It really alleviates doubt, the doubt and fear that's associated with wanting something, desiring to be in a different place, aligning yourself with that place. It takes away. It's all about the fear and the doubt, because it's interesting because we harbor fears and doubts, whether we like it or not. We do harbor fears and doubts. We say in regular vernacular, I want to be there. I want to be in this place, right? And that statement in its own right means that you don't see yourself in that place. You see yourself lacking being there, and so you're going to stay in this frequency of lack because that's where you are and that's what you're thinking. And so using the concept of why, if you're looking to be somewhere else, and most people, everything out there on YouTube right now is about making money or being, garnering more power or, becoming wealthy. They know all the buttons to push to get people to buy their program or watch whatever this is that's going on. And bottom line is, we all have the ability that, and we don't need a lot of this stuff. We have the ability to actually set ourselves up for exactly what it is that we want, what we desire, to put ourselves on that frequency. And it's that simple. We have to put ourselves on the frequency of what we want. If we have a problem, we cannot solve the problem from the frequency in which the problem was created. We have to go outside of it. We have to shift our thinking. And otherwise, we're going to be answering the question from a place that we will never have the answer, because we're mired in the problem. You have to step outside of it in some way. It's interesting. I did a podcast today about just that, about the whole Einstein concept, that you can't solve a problem from the perspective that created the problem, from the perception and the space, the frequency, whatever you want to call it, from which the problem was created in the first place. And we have to change. Something's got to change. Change your perceptions, change your beliefs, change something in order to step outside of that frequency and align yourself with the frequency of the answer. Yeah, it's really interesting.
It is really interesting. And there's another Einstein quote that I actually have written down in my book so that I can remember it. He said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence." And, it makes you think, how can we use the power of questioning to intentionally shape our reality rather than subconsciously reacting to it? And I think the answer is in that why. It is in that why. And when we remember that we are not separate from what we create, I think that's a big, huge thing, that conscious creation. And when you have that why, that's consciously creating it. Every thought, feeling, action is tuning into that frequency on the radio. We choose the station and we broadcast it into the field. Many years ago, a gentleman named William gave me a gift of a little dial that actually came off of an old radio. And he handed it to me, and he said, any time that you're not liking what you're broadcasting, he said, just turn the dial. And so that's what I do. I keep it in my purse. And inevitably, when I'm in an experience, I'll reach in. It's in one of the pockets of my purse, and I just pull it out, and I'll tune it. I'll turn it, tune it, turn it. And I actually don't even need the physical aspect of it, but it was such a sweet thing that he gave me. And I ended up finding another one, and I keep it in my bedroom on the shelf. And so brilliant. I have them accessible.
That is even more brilliant than I think I could ever come up with. Because, it's a tangible item that can help remind you of the fact that you have more power than what you think to change how you feel and the way you're responding and the thoughts that you're thinking. It's interesting because it reminds me of how, people watch television. People choose to watch horror, or they choose to, which instills fear, and watch dramas, reality TV, which is replete with programmed responses and characters that actually mimic people, lower frequencies, people operating from lower frequencies in your everyday life. which makes it so absolutely, for some people, addictive, because people become addicted to dramas that mimic the frequencies that they themselves are resonating. So now you've come across it, and it's also the reason why when you come across something on television, maybe perhaps when you're changing channels or stations, or there's an advertisement for something that is out of your frequency, that's outside, that's elevated perhaps in your frequency, that you don't respond to it. It's a conscious. You're talking about consciously creating your reality. It's a choice and a decision that you make in every moment. And these channels, when you're in drama, when you're stuck in it, when you're in judgment, when you're in a fearful mode, or you're in a doubtful or a depressed mode, resonating those frequencies, you will literally, more than likely, find something. The average person will find something on TV that will resonate with that frequency and continue to compound that frequency, because
right.
They're just like me, right? When what we really should be doing is turning that off and immediately turning something on, listening to something that is maybe one of the books that we talked about earlier, with either one of Robert Edward Grant's books, or the other gentleman we just mentioned, who popped out of my head temporarily, Gregg Braden. Something like Gregg Braden. When we in my view, should have something on hand, something that we can go to very quickly that resonates the higher frequency that we really want, which is where we really want to be. But we're stuck in a problem. Someone's brought some drama to us. They brought a problem to us. We give a challenge, and we can then shift automatically by just simply attuning ourselves to the higher frequency that we know we want to be operating from. And all you should do, once you start listening to that, like a Bashar episode or a Abraham Hicks piece on YouTube, right? It's so easy to go to YouTube and pick one of those when you're in the midst of a challenge, when you're in the midst of what you perceive as a problem in your life, with the intent of elevating your frequency beyond where you are, and that will help you. It will immediately shift. It's like what Carol was talking about a couple weeks ago. She says, fun. Just say the word 100 times if you need to, because what will happen is it will shift your frequency of thought. It will shift it completely. It's that old fake it till you feel it concept, which really in reality does work. If you're not feeling good, you're sad, but if you turn around and you find something very quickly, attune to something that makes you smile. You can't smile and have a frown at the same time, right? Can't have two different frequencies, lower and higher, operating at the same time in the same space. So the move is to line something up that you enjoy, that resonates where you really want to be. So when the problem comes, you can just simply switch over. You can change the dial. You have a dial in your pocket, but really what you're doing now with a smartphone is you're shifting over to Instagram, or you're shifting over to YouTube, and using these apps to elevate your frequency by consciously choosing things that are elevating at an elevated frequency already. Then you accomplish two things with one stone. You actually enlighten yourself. You give yourself more tools to use to stay at higher frequencies, and you shift yourself away from the drama, the lower frequencies of fear and drama and worry and frustration, wherever you were wallowing before. And I know I talk about this, I know on my own podcast, and I know we've talked about it here on the show, how important it is to know that you can consciously shift your reality. Shift it. That's what we're talking about all the time. You create your reality. You're perceiving the situation as a problem, perceiving it as a challenge, perceiving it as the worst thing ever that could happen that day. And that's a perception, and you shift it by aligning yourself consciously with something else that is at a higher frequency already. It's interesting. What we haven't talked about in a while is how Carol Collins and the teachers were talking about. The teachers were talking a year and a half ago about just playing something playing channeled material at a very low volume, barely audible in your office or your bedroom or your kitchen or wherever it is, because that higher frequency basically invades that space and takes over. You're actually elevating the frequency in the entire space by doing that, because that frequency is from the highest frequency that could ever be, the non-physical realm, right? So we can do that. There's all kinds of little tools we can use, little tricks we can do, like the dial in your purse or in your bedroom, to then now manifest on a conscious level a different frequency altogether. And I love that idea. I do it myself, by the way. That's what I do. When I see something or I find myself thinking about something that's not at the frequency that I know I want to be thinking, I will turn something on. I'll turn some Gregg Braden on for 15, 20 minutes. I'll go to a YouTube channel, listen to Bachar or an Abraham. I'll do that, and it will totally shift what I'm thinking about. Oh, you're thinking about what's going on. Your frequency will be so elevated, and you'll be so away from whatever that is, and that it will, whatever the solution is, will come to you in short order, because you've shifted yourself away from the frequency from which you were operating in the midst of the problem.
That's so true. And I love when Gregg spoke about the fact that we have so much energy, it would fill up 300 football fields. And that's each human being. So you tell me that we are definitely powerful instruments for creation. Our very essence is a conduit for information and light. And that question, why, is like the seed that's planted in our reality that unleashes that unlimited potential. And what we're searching for is not that destination, but it's our own original design. It's what we came in here with. As you said, Michael, that we are remembering the things that we came in here inherently knowing, that this veil has been closed, but now we're getting better and better at remembering the things that we forgot, which is
so true.
The way that we shift and create a new reality for collective consciousness, I believe.
I agree 110%. That is how it happens. And if we can just remember on a practical level that we have this conscious ability to shift, and this world would become, in my view, less of a bother, the bother that people are making it out to be.
Yeah, but we have each other. I'm so grateful for you, Michael, and I'm grateful to our audience, because really each week is a journey of discovery, and we're reconnecting with the essence of that loving kindness and that oneness in every episode that we do. And I would just encourage each and every one of you to keep shining your light, because you are that powerful. Imagine all those lights illuminating all those football fields across the planet. Oh, yeah. It's something to think about.
It is definitely something for us to keep in mind at all times.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for this time, Michael, and for all of the wisdom from our higher guidance, and so grateful. And why is it so easy for this episode to go by so quickly?
It's because because the thoughts keep rolling in, and we're not thinking about time. It's it does happen so quickly. Yeah, so fast, an hour. My gosh, you think about that. But I'm blessed and grateful to do the show with you, and to have the audience that we have listening to the show. And I really hope what we're talking about is helping. It's, don't try to absorb the whole of it. When you listen to these episodes, I always suggest listening for what and feeling what resonates with you at the time, and take that and run with it. And you can always come back and listen and pick something else out. Something else will resonate with you, that's something different. It's the way that you grow incrementally. You just, that's the way you evolve in little steps. And that's how in little steps, sooner or later, add up to something really big, really huge in your life, in terms of connection to something greater than you. Okay?
So beautiful. Thank you. Until next time, keep shining and peace out. Thank you.
Peace out.